Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, How to Stand Out on LinkedIn. I'm your moderator, Abby Mamarella. I'm an applications and process engineer at Denora Water Technologies. I've been working with Ozone system design for industrial and municipal water treatment after graduating college about 2.5 years ago. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. Jim, would you mind switching slides? Thank you. You may have joined the presentation listening using your computer's speaker system by default. If you prefer to join over the telephone, just select phone call in the audio pane and the dial information will be displayed. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenters by typing them into the questions pane of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end. We do encourage questions. Right. Next slide, please. Now, with those technical items taken care of, I will hand it off to Dr. Ariel Atkinson, who will first give us an introduction to the IOA-PAG's ROPES program. Ariel is a process systems engineer in R&D at the Southern Nevada Water Authority in Las Vegas. Ariel is also the chair of the ROPES committee.
Next slide. Good morning, everyone. So now that I have all of you on the line, I thought that I would give a quick introduction to our ROPES committee. It's a newly formed committee that we started this year. And so ROPES actually stands for Rookie Ozone Professionals, Enthusiasts, and Students. So I wanted to talk about what IOA offers specifically that would benefit ROPES. So the first thing is if you're a student, we actually do have free student membership as well as all the benefits that come with an IOA membership. So with that, you get OS&E, our peer review journal, Ozone News, and conference registration discounts. And as I said, there's you get the technical ozone content. So there's the OS&E journal, but there's also a lot of resources on the IOA website that you also get access to when you are a member of IOA. And so today we have our first webinar in our Learning the Ropes series. And so these are some webinars that will be tailored to the ropes community and focus on skills development. As well as topics that are specifically relevant to rookies and students. Another program that we have just started, it is the Ozone Guides program, and this is a mentoring and networking program. Next slide. ROPES, if you join IOA and the ROPES committee, you also have the opportunity to collaborate with both experienced IOA members as well as your fellow ROPES members, such as myself and Abby. And so one of the things that we did this year was we developed a collaborative manuscript and on actually SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19. And submitted this to Ozone Science and Engineering, and so you should see that pretty soon coming out in OS&E. We also are beginning to promote actual ROPES members, and so here we see in the center a example of one of the posts that will be coming out on social media pretty soon, promoting Mike McKee, one of our ROPES committee members. We also are developing several different types of digital content. So here we have the webinar, but we also have some videos that will be rolling out here pretty soon. At the bottom of this slide, you can see a link to the ROPES committee page. And this is open to everyone. You don't have to be a member to go to this page to check out some of the things that ROPES has been working on, as well as information to contact the ROPES committee if you would like to join. And then we also have some other ongoing initiatives. So you know, always more the merrier. So if you want to join the ropes committee, please contact us. And we would like to spread the love and get as many students and rookie ozone professionals as possible in IOA. And we will continue to develop digital content. And when we have, you know, conferences again, either virtual or in person, we would also be doing some rope specific conference activities. So again, go to this website here, this link on the page to check out more about ropes. So at this point, I thank you all for attending our first Learning the Ropes webinar, and I'll hand this back to Abby.
Thanks, Ariel. One of our first ropes initiatives was expansion of social media to increase the organization exposure. With that, I would like to introduce presenter Jim Lauria. Jim is the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for the Maisie Injector Company. Maisie is a world leader in mixing and contacting technologies. They play a major role in both industrial and municipal applications of ozone for water treatment. Jim has a Bachelor of Chemical Engineering degree from Manhattan College and has traveled the world benchmarking the best global water management practices. Jim currently serves on the IOA-PAG Executive Operating Committee. Thanks, Jim, for helping us learn the ropes of LinkedIn today.
Thanks so much, Abby and Ariel. I really appreciate the opportunity to be invited to speak on behalf of the IOA and especially the Ropes Committee of young water professionals on how to stand out on LinkedIn. So yes, I am a proud baby boomer, and but during my career, I have collaborated with many Gen Xers and millennials to get some good tips and ideas on how to use LinkedIn more effectively. And I'm going to feature two younger water professional colleagues in my webinar. So I hope to think of this as a multi-generational presentation. So I've been an active user of LinkedIn since 2004. LinkedIn was actually launched in 2003, and I decided to use it when I was pivoting from another industry to dedicate myself full-time into the water industry. And I felt that if I was going to take this as a career path, I really needed to network with more of the people in the water industry. So I saw LinkedIn as that opportunity. Around 2011, 2012, I was looking for my next career move. In other words, I was looking for a new job. And I found this book, The Startup of You, that was written by co-written by Reid Hoffman, who was the co-founder and at the time the chairman of LinkedIn. And I figured that if I wanted to learn more about how to use LinkedIn effectively, it would be a good idea to see what he had to say. And one of the things he did say, and one of the big key takeaways I took from the book, was that people equal opportunities. And if you wanted to increase the opportunities in a given network or in a given market sector, then it'd be a really good idea to connect with as many people in that market niche as possible. And based on becoming more proficient in using LinkedIn, I was invited by the Water Quality Association in 2017 to give a presentation on how to use LinkedIn more effectively at their annual conference. And that ended up becoming a LinkedIn article, using LinkedIn to position your company as a thought leader. So that's a little bit of my pedigree on why I've been asked to give this presentation. So why do I consider LinkedIn a valuable resource for the water community? So as most of you know, LinkedIn is the is considered the #1 business social networking site. Presently, they've got over 700 million members. And to put that in perspective, when I gave the presentation in 2017, they had over 400 million members. So in just 3 years, the site, the platform has grown by over 300 million members. There's about 310 million monthly active users. There's about 2 million active LinkedIn groups, and I'll talk more about the LinkedIn groups. But again, to put that in perspective, there was only 1 million active LinkedIn groups back in 2017. And then now the site is translated into 24 different languages. So you can see the worldwide map there on the number of users around the world. And the other reason I like using LinkedIn, and I think it's an important tool, is that you can access it everywhere, anytime, anywhere. And I would say now I'm using LinkedIn a lot more on my phone rather than on my computer. I usually use the computer when I'm posting articles, but for the most part, to communicate, I'm using it on my iPhone. So the way I like to look at LinkedIn and compare it to, let's say, Facebook, I look at Facebook as almost like a backyard barbecue, and LinkedIn is more as a business lunch. So in a backyard barbecue, you'd show up, you maybe wear your Golden Knights jersey, a New York Yankee hat, show up in flip-flops, you'd probably bring your spouse, you bring your kids, maybe your dog, you have a couple of beers. In a business lunch, you're going to dress much more appropriately. You're not going to bring your spouse or your kids. You're not going to wear flip-flops. It's going to be a different way of presenting yourself. And that's how I kind of like to compare the two. So on your profile, you really want to have a good professional headshot. You don't want to have a photo of yourself on a motorcycle or drinking a pina colada. It's more appropriate to have a good headshot. Your headline, a lot of people put their job title, and I recommend that you kind of develop your personal brand that will carry through for when you change companies, and keep that as your personal brand going forward. You want to tell an authentic story, kind of an elevator pitch that includes your unique value proposition. And then you also want to have some recommendations, at least 3 recommendations. And growing up, my dad used to say, Jerry, you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. But I think that's changed now. I think it's more not who you know, but who knows you. And this is an opportunity for you to get people, relevant people, that can tell how they work with you and what you're really good at. So once you develop a good profile, you want to start sending and receiving and accepting invitations. And so in the old days before COVID, I'd go to an in-person trade show. I'd collect a bunch of cards, and I'd come back and I'd send invitations. So I'd send something, hi, Mary, it was nice meeting you at WefTech. I'd really appreciate the opportunity to connect with you on LinkedIn. Or, hello, Jürgen, it was nice meeting you at EFAT. I'd really like to connect with you on LinkedIn. So now what I've been doing is, rather than obviously not going to in-person presentations, there's a lot of virtual online webinars, there's online virtual meetings, and I'll do something like, hi, Denise, I really found your presentation on the use of ozone for water reuse applications very informative. I'd like to, I really appreciate the opportunity to connect with you on LinkedIn. As far as accepting invitations, I do a little bit of due diligence. I look at the person's photo, I look at where they're from, I look at some of the jobs they've had, maybe their school. And then the biggest thing I do is I look at the mutual connections we have in common, and I see who are they connected with that I'm also connected with. And that gives me an idea of whether I want to go forward connecting with them. So I spoke a little bit about the groups. These are some of the groups that I'm a part of. You can join up to 50. And you can own your own group, but if you're going to own your own group, you have the responsibility to moderate it. So I wouldn't take owning a group lightly. It takes some work to do. So a little bit about the LinkedIn algorithm, and obviously it's like any algorithm, it's kind of secret. And but what they say about it is the way it sorts things out. It's people talking about things you care about. In other words, prioritizing personal connections around common interests. And an informal analysis says that only 15% of water professionals are active on LinkedIn. So the good news is that you have an opportunity, if you are more active on LinkedIn, to stand out. But the bad news is that means 85% of water professionals really aren't telling water's story on the site. So, hopefully this presentation can give people ideas on how to stand out and help us tell water's story in a better fashion. So now it's time to broadcast to your network. And what you'd like to do is engage like minds. So you comment, you can like, you can share, you can start a discussion, you can conduct a poll. As with anything, it's about content. And what LinkedIn says is original content does best. So while it's fine to share other people's content and it's fine to do a lot of things around that, it's really your original content that really makes its mark. So I want to feature a friend of mine, Walid Khoury, and I want to show you what his headline says. So he's a global water strategist with a passion for solving emerging challenges through collaboration, innovation, and the adoption of digital tools. And that'll travel with him no matter what company he works for. So Walid's really good at posing questions on the site, conducting surveys, doing video interviews, and he also does a good job of posting water quotes, which is a personal favorite of mine. And he says that really, and it follows suit with one of my favorite quotes about water by Ovid, the Roman philosopher: dripping water hollows out a stone, not through force, but through persistence. So it's consistent, persistent content on LinkedIn that does a good job. And so I followed that, and between 2018 and 2020, for over 500 days in a row, I posted a water quote on LinkedIn, and it got a lot of good engagement. I picked up a lot of new followers, a lot of new connections. And so on my personal website, I posted those 500 quotes, and I offer it to you, all the listeners, to use this as your resource. Feel free, be my guest, to use it however you think you might want to use it. Another friend of mine is Adam Tank. Adam's headline is Automating Preliminary Design Engineering for Water EPCs, Utilities, and OEMs. So what Adam's done is he tells you what he does and how he can help the customers and clients he's involved with. And what Adam does, and he suggests, is take photos of different water situations. If you're walking down the street, he says, and you see the utility service people working on a broken sewer main, take a photo of that. If you see a broken drinking water main, take a photo of that and post it with some comments. He's also really good at posting general interest posts. So he's getting more than just the water industry people involved. And in this way, he's telling the story about the value of water, but he's getting it out to a larger market. So taking Adam's advice, I was walking on my daily walk a few months ago, and I took this photo. You can see the boomer in me. You can see my little finger there in the side of the photo. But I took this photo on my daily walk, and you can see I got at the local water treatment facility, and I got over 2,800 views, 83 likes, just on this small little post. And then on a general interest post, I posted this a little while back about whenever I start a new job, the first thing I do is update my resume 2 years in the future. And this one got almost 16,000 views, 84 likes, and a couple of comments. So again, just a short little post, but it got pretty good engagement. But for me, one of my favorite things is to publish articles on LinkedIn. And there's a number of reasons why I like to do that. So first of all, when you publish something on LinkedIn, you own the content. So that's a good thing. So you can use that in other places. So I posted LinkedIn articles on the Water Network, on Water Online, on another blog, or Water Counts. And one of my posts was even picked up by the new service, Water Deeply. The other thing I like about it is that the articles on LinkedIn are searchable. So if you publish something on LinkedIn, you end up being able to get searched. That article can be searched when someone puts in your name into Google or any of the other search engines. And then finally, the way I use these LinkedIn articles, I call them what I call repurposing them. So a LinkedIn article becomes a PowerPoint presentation. A PowerPoint presentation becomes a white paper becomes a video interview becomes a podcast. So there's a lot of ways you can use longer form content. So the way I find longer form content and things to write about is like anything, you do your research. And so where can you look for conversations? So industry events, we talked about that. So now with COVID, there's not that many in-person events, but there's a lot of online virtual events. So you can find a lot of good content there. Trade organizations, I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then the media, I mean, there's a lot of great water publications. There's Water Online, there's Water and Waste Digest, there's Water World. I mean, there's so many of them. And with this, you can really find good ideas to comment and write about. So as far as the trade organizations, there's of course the IOA, the Water Reuse Association, WEF, American Waterworks Association, the Water Quality Association I mentioned earlier, and then there's regional associations, New York, Arizona, California, Texas. I mean, every state and region has some really good water associations that you can get some good content from. And then there's books, right? So my friend Robert Glennon wrote Unquenchable, The Blue Death, Last Oasis, When the Rivers Run Dry, Running Out of Water, The Big Thirst by Charles Fishman. And if you look at the titles, it paints a pretty grim picture of the challenges we face in the water industry. So there's every reason to really want to write and comment and make the general public aware about the value of water. So one of the things you can do with these books is you can write a review. And along with my quotes on my personal website, I've listed 50 books on water and water-related topics that you can use as your own reference library. And I write the summaries about the books, short summary. So please use this as your own personal library to use as a reference. The other thing you can write about is you can benchmark water management practices. And obviously we're not traveling as much, but there are some great places to really talk about. So I've written about the good work that Israel is doing around water issues, what Australia is doing around conservation, what Singapore is doing around processing wastewater. And then, yes, even my friends in Texas are doing a good job on some water issues. So a couple of things about tips on what not to do. So what you're trying to do on LinkedIn is you're trying to build credibility, build your reputation. And one of the things that really annoys me is when you get an invitation, you accept an invitation, and then immediately you get a message from that person saying, hey, here's a link to my website, here's a brochure of my product, what do you think, can we do business together? And that's pretty annoying. And the other thing that's really annoying is when I publish an article about a general trend in the industry, and then someone tries to hijack that post by, in the comments section, putting, I have the solution for all the problems that's stated in this post. And so don't do that. The other thing I want to say, and this is a bit controversial, and that's using this new badge that LinkedIn just developed, Open to Work. Now I know, times are tough. There's a lot of people out of jobs, but to me, this is pretty passive aggressive of going after a new position. And first of all, you shouldn't use LinkedIn only when you're looking for a job. You want to have a continuous working on it so that you're connected to a lot of people even when you don't need a job. And I think you need to be more proactive when you're looking for a job, posting more and presenting the ideas of what you can do for a potential employer, rather than just saying to the hiring manager, hey, check out my LinkedIn profile. Maybe you can use me for a job opening you might have. And then it goes without saying, no typos or errors on your profile, on your LinkedIn page. I don't know how many times I've seen in a LinkedIn profile a job description as a regional sales manager. And another tip, and if you're going to publish things, you can't take it personally. You probably, if you publish quite a bit, you're going to probably get some negative comments, some criticism. So I've been called everything from an anti-green pro-business hack to an uninformed environmentalist. And that was for the same blog post. So if you get negative comments, I just ignore them. I don't engage, and I think that's the best course of action. So bottom line is, if you want to stand out on LinkedIn, you really should speak out on LinkedIn. And as my friend Adam Tank says, if we as water professionals don't tell water's story, someone else will. And it's not necessarily going to be the right story. So please, I encourage you to speak out. And another reason we really need to educate the public on the value of water is that if we as water professionals want to get fair value for the products and services we sell, then we need the general public to really understand the value of water. So again, I encourage you to speak out. I'm going to leave with a final quote from John Kennedy. He's written and said a lot of good quotes about water. The rising tide lifts all boats. And if we as a water industry don't understand this concept, there's not much hope for us. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your attendance. And I'd like to thank the sponsors, the IOA's year-round sponsors, Chart Industries, Denora, Xylem, Suez, and my company, Maisie Injector. And please connect with me, connect with the IOA. The IOA has a really good LinkedIn site. Connect with Abby and connect with Ariel so you can find out what the Ropes Committee is going to be up to next. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you so much, Jim. I just want to remind everyone that you can ask questions through the chat. Just select the send question to staff. We do have a couple. So, first question, for Jim is how much time do you spend monthly on your social media profile, and how do you best quantify the value of that investment?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Well, it's like any marketing, right? So you never know where you're going to get your next lead from, and so it's a commitment, right? And so I usually, I'll check my phone in the morning and look at it and see who's connected and any invitations. If I'm going to post something, I'll plan around that. As I said, I like to do a lot of articles. So I don't do as many articles as you would. Yeah, I'm not posting an article every month, maybe every 2, maybe every 3 months. But if I see somebody that's got a good post, I'll like it, I'll share it. As I said, if I see a picture, I'll take a photo when I'm walking, or if I hear something about an issue, I'll write a quick post about it. So I'm on LinkedIn every day. But I spend maybe 45 minutes a day, but not all at once, just several times. And as far as return on investment, again, it's a marketing plan, and you never know really where that is going to pay dividends. But I can tell you, there's been a lot of connections I've made that have helped me with my next position, my next job. People have commented and given me some good feedback on my products with Maisie and other companies I've worked for. So it's hard to quantify, but I feel it's really worth the investment.
Thanks, Jim. We have another good question here. Are there areas beyond LinkedIn that you think are valuable for networking? If so, what platforms and how are those valuable to you?
Right. So that's a good question. I focus on LinkedIn. I know some people are on LinkedIn and Twitter. Some people do Instagram. So you can't be on all the networks, all the social media platforms. So for me, I've targeted LinkedIn because, again, it's a business networking site, and I've got the most. I've gained the most from LinkedIn. So I can't really talk about Twitter. I can't talk about Instagram, Facebook. To me, as I said, backyard barbecue versus a business lunch. So that's how I feel about it.
Thanks, Jim. Our next question is, do you have advice on evaluating the effectiveness of or relevancy of posts on LinkedIn, water or ozone to the water or ozone community? Is there a data analysis or a tool that you use?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Do you have advice on evaluating the effectiveness or value or relevancy of a post to LinkedIn about the water or ozone community?
Oh, well, I mean, basically, it's the number of comments, it's the number of likes, it's the engagement, it's the number of shares. I mean, that's kind of how I judge it, if it's a good post or not. So that's really, who's sharing it, who's liking it. And one of the things that I see is when people like a post of mine, I look who actually liked it. And sometimes, a lot of times it'll be people that know me and I'm already connected with. But other times there's people that I haven't been connected with, and I'll just reach out to them and say, thank you for liking my post. I'd appreciate the opportunity to connect with you on LinkedIn. So, that's pretty much the way I judge it. If I get the engagement in comments and likes.
Okay. Here's another one. Do you repost or share posts from your company? How often do you do that, if so?
Yeah, so Maisie has a LinkedIn site, and so if I've got a post, we share them on the Maisie site. So we do a lot of that with and posting other people within the company's posts. So there is an advantage of having a company site, And that's how we share posts that I do, and also anything else we think is important that the water community might want to know about Maisie.
Okay, our next question is, I have two different professional activities, ozone, water treatment, and emotional health. Should I have two different LinkedIn accounts?
That's interesting. So basically, they've got two parallel career paths. You know, that's an interesting thing. That's a good question. I really don't answer that. You know, I'm so focused on water that I'm not sure about what they should do about that, because obviously they're going to have different people following them, and maybe what they should do is have a personal site, and then maybe you know, a business site if that's part of their interests. But yeah, it sounds like they probably should have two separate sites, because you're going to have a whole mixture of different people engaging, and you know, the people that are interested in water may not be interested in emotional health. The people in emotional health might not be interested in the water posts. So I think it sounds like if you're going on a parallel path, it's a good question. I've never heard that before, but you know, that's my advice.
That makes sense. Our next question sounds like it's from a student. They want to know if you recommend sharing major school assignments on LinkedIn.
Major school assignments. They want someone to do their homework? I'm not sure. I'm not sure I understand that. I mean, if it's a paper they published, sure. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, if they're a student and they're starting out their career, they want to show what they've demonstrated around studies and published papers. If that's what they mean, probably. But I don't know if when they say school assignments, I assume that's what they mean, but that would be my advice.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay.
Next question, what type of things should be published and what is the typical length?
Yeah, so I mean, anything can be published. I mean, there's a difference between posts where you're just doing a short post and articles. The articles, like I said, can be long form. You know, I just posted one about the top 15 quotes that Leonardo da Vinci wrote about water, and that was a short post. You know, just maybe 500 words, 300 words, something like that. But other ones are 1,500, 2,000 words. So it can vary as far as an article. If it's really short, a photo, a video, do it as a post. If it's longer than that, you know, do it as an article. And, you know, if it's a couple of paragraphs, probably to do an article rather than just a post.
Okay. Next question from the audience. I am in a non-English speaking country. Do you think that profiles in English have greater impact, or should I publish in multiple languages? Have you
That's
seen
it.
that done well by others?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would suggest publishing in English because that's more what people are going to read in. But you can translate into different languages on the site. So if they published in their own language, then anybody reading it could read it in English. But the chances are that they're going to actually translate it. I'm not sure what people would do. They might just skip over it. So my suggestion is, because you know, English is pretty much the international language, people are going to be more inclined to read your profile and see who you are if it's in English.
Good advice. Okay, we have another question. Looks like our last one from the audience for now. We already share and cross promote on our company LinkedIn page. Are there other more proficient ways you could suggest of getting our company page seen by more water professionals and out to our contacts?
Yeah, so that's a good one. So the best way to do that is to get everybody in the company on LinkedIn, right? And have them have their own profile page and then promote the company page based on that. So the more people in in that person's company that are LinkedIn active users, it's going to help the company really be inclined to have more engagement on their company page.
That's great advice. Okay, so here's our last question. Do you have an opinion on upgrading to LinkedIn Premium?
That's a good question. So I've tried LinkedIn Premium several times on a short-term version, a couple of months, 3, 4 months, 6 months sometimes. I never really found the value in it. Some people do. I mean, you can reach out to more people if you don't know them. You can get more analytics about how you're doing on your site. I know a lot of recruiters use LinkedIn Premium. I think it helps them more for searches and finding ways to sort through the different profiles, find people for a specific job position. But for me personally, I've only been using the regular LinkedIn platform. So and like I said, I've used the premium a couple of times where it's been a free test, and I didn't see the value in it. But what I suggest is they let you use, I think you can get 3-month trial. And so try it. If you see the advantages to it for yourself, then maybe it's worth it to you. But I've never seen it be worth it for me.
Great. Thank you, Jim, for all of your advice and for your presentation today. I'd also like to thank Ariel for her introduction to the Ropes Committee, as well as all of the attendees who joined and for participation in the International Ozone Association. So with that, I guess we'll wrap it up and end the webinar. Thank you, everyone.